It's Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. You're watching Co-op for Two. You're joining me for episode 4 of Letters from a Ghost Hunter by the Deadbolt Mystery Society, a 12-part episodic puzzle narrative game. Let me see what I'm working with here. A little bit of out of focus. I had a friend once, a woman, and she was playing Call of Duty or one of these multiplayer games, video games. She was playing with like a 12-year-old boy, and he said they were sharing video chat or whatever, and he said, "Stand up, let me see what I'm working with here." So I always think of that when I turn on the camera. When you see me is the first time I'm seeing me, so it is sometimes there are problems with the appearance, but it looks like the camera's slightly out of focus, but nothing that will slow us down. All right, a little bit of bookkeeping first. We will be off next week. I will be off next week away in Japan, so we will not meet on February 29th, I believe it will be, which I guess is March 1st. But the following week, I'll be back and we'll be playing episode 5. We did have some fun yesterday playing 2 scenarios in this little puzzle game called Unbox that I'm quite taken with. Letters from a Ghost Hunter. I was asked what I thought of it so far. I'm not sure yet. I do think there are parts of this game that show the strength of the Deadbolt Mystery Society, the sort of combining puzzles with narrative and psychology. On the other hand, this set has been heavy in ciphers, not my favorite thing. But I do love these long-form games. And it is interesting to see the Deadbolt Mystery Society figure out how they want to do the how they want to handle the fact that there are things you get in a letter that don't get resolved in that letter. That's sort of the challenge for these multi-part games, is how do you give information, how do you make every box not totally self-contained? Some companies just make them self-contained. But Deadbolt Mystery Society seems to be, with this game, adopting a much more interesting, deliberate strategy of each letter giving us a little bit of a recap of what you should have solved in the previous letter in case you missed something, and a little bit of an online element to make sure you've found everything you should find, and then some recaps and some periodic sort of reminder of who you're dealing with. And I think after I check in with the chat, we will read one element, one item from our previous box that was particularly useful in that regard. But let me check in with the chat, see how everyone is doing this Sunday, what everyone is up to. Melissa, who has independently subscribed to this game, says, I've got most of this letter stuck on one part, so I'm glad it will be a group effort. YouTube says 18 concurrent viewers. I gotta stop saying concurrent viewers. That doesn't, it's not helpful. 18 viewers. And 11 likes. So we've got a very like-friendly group here. Normally I have to beg and cajole a little bit for those likes to go up. I am more and more feeling happy to be out of the, to do this channel for fun. To not have any aims, intentions, or goals to be popular or get lots of subscribers. It's always fun when people subscribe to the channel. It's fun seeing the numbers go up. It's fun when a video gets lots of views, but really, it does nothing for me. So the most important thing is that we have fun and that I have fun. I mean, it's a nice side benefit if you're enjoying watching this, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that I have fun. And then next up is that you have fun. I do want to take a regular opportunity to thank the Patreon supporters of this channel. I hope you'll join me. If you're not a Patreon supporter, that's fine, but I hope you will join me in thanking those who have financially supported this channel directly. They make it possible to bring games like this to the channel without going broke, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say I appreciate it. All right, so in our last letter, I wanted to bring out one document because I think it illustrates what I was describing about Deadbolt Mystery Society making real attempts to keep a sort of continuity and bring you along for the ride. So in addition to these photos of each of our suspects, and we're getting one per letter, and we've got the stats of them, and we're hunting for a serial killer, and each letter we get a little more constraints on the height, the age of the serial killer. We're going to narrow down to one. And we have finally started getting some weird details helping us understand the motive of this serial killer TikTok. And in our last letter, we got told some interesting stuff, not just stats about him, but that his motive has something to do with this pharmaceutical company that was sponsoring this drug that we think this sanatorium is using and testing on people. And at the last letter, we met the doctor chemist who's in charge of administering these drugs. But separately from that, look at this nice little summary letter we got from our detective, our researcher on the ground, who's a ghost hunter. There's definitely supernatural elements. And remember, he is searching for our lost daughter, who also went here to this sanatorium asylum to try to figure out what's going on with the serial killer. And look at this nice little summary of victims, and then summary of employees / suspects. And this is what I think Deadbolt Mystery Society does well. Like, it's puzzles, but there's some strong psychological elements always interleaved in trying to figure out who did it. Just enough to keep you really engaged. These are our current suspects. So we have 3 employees that we believe it's a worker for this company. That's probably TikTok. So we've got Franklin Betts, Carter Ennis, and Kevin Leclerc. And here we are being given a sort of psychological profile of these 3 people. And then a little miniature psychological profile of the people that were with our daughter, Nancy, when she went missing. And this guy is saying, hey, whatever happened to them? Why haven't you mentioned it? Did they also go missing? Are they alive? And then, so these little thumbnail summaries of the psychology of these 3 workers give us sort of slightly different takes. Like, they all have something that's a little bit suspicious of them, but not enough that would make you think they're a serial killer. We might want to reread these at some point. And then the key thing we learned last week was the victims have some weird detail that's shared between some of them. This one, like, this serial killer is obsessed with time, and maybe a specific time. This one, wall clock opened and jammed, frozen at 3:17 a.m. And then this one as well. Watch stopped mid-step at 3:17 a.m. So, like, something is clearly going on at 3:17 a.m. that this killer is obsessed with. But it's not just that. It's that, like, this doctor oversaw experimental time perception therapy. This was a person who claimed to have seen a man counting seconds. Digital wristwatch forcibly removed, place on the floor, battery removed. So maybe you set it to 3:17, took out the battery so you can't tell anymore. But known for falsifying time logs. Like, what's broken pocket watch? What is this person? Why are they obsessed with time? And is there a supernatural element to this? We do in this world, there are ghosts talking to us, so there are supernatural. But is the serial killer supernatural? We don't know. But this is what makes the puzzles are the meat of the game. But this, for me, is the necessary part of a game to make me care. Just give me abstract puzzles. I don't care enough to want to put in the effort. But if you're telling me that we're going to understand this story and psychology, then I'm in. So I think maybe we'll keep this letter out because I think we'll want to reread that a few more times. All right. Anything else to talk about before we open up our letter number 4 and get started? Marlene says we all have fun. Well, some of you may enjoy this channel. Some of you may watch it for cringe watching or to watch for some live disaster. Some of you may watch it to help you go to sleep. There's nothing wrong with any of that. All right. Every time I try to open these envelopes, it gets worse. Look at this. All right. So another letter from our ghost hunter. Let's just take a look at what else we have here. A new suspect. Looks like a doctor at the sanitarium. A postcard with some black ink. transcript, and a piece of paper. So a pretty thin set of documents today, at least physical documents. Looks like we've got another letter from Nancy. Okay, well, let us start with the letter from our contact, at least the front of it. Week number 4. Okay, we're in the operating room this week. Sounds like a good place to search, right? I'm not so sure. Honestly, I've been here almost a month, and this is the most terrified I've ever been inside a haunted location. Something evil is here. This presence is not Arlo, our friendly neighborhood code-breaking ghost. It's also not the female presence from the first EVP. It's something much darker, something much more malevolent, and it's tied to that book. I know it sounds like I'm being dramatic, but there have been some things that have happened, scary things. I've been pushed a few times. Once I felt hands around my throat choking me. I've even felt hot breath on my neck while roaming the halls. And it wasn't even just the fact that I felt physically assaulted. There was a presence near me that felt dark, evil, malignant. I do this for a living, and typically I'm not scared, but I have to admit I didn't sleep the night all of that happened. After I found that book, I looked through some of the pages, and I'm convinced that something very dark has been called up through some very questionable means. What I also think is that this presence was here long before Valewood Sanatorium existed. I also think I figured out who the spell book belongs to, and honestly, I'm both shocked and not surprised at the same time. How does it tie into the murders and disappearance of your daughter and her friends? I honestly can't say right now. In any event, I decided to try and communicate with the mortician again. This time, my results were very different than before. I would say the spirit of the old mortician still haunts this place. I used the spirit box, and this time I think the old guy finally showed up. I got a very in-depth response that was both intelligent and useful. I'm not entirely sure what to think about this particular spirit at the moment. I don't trust him. I don't think he was a particularly good person in life, but I also don't think everything that he is blamed for is completely his fault. But enough about all that. I'm sure you want to know about Nancy. Well, your girl is nothing if not resourceful. She has continued to leave a trail of breadcrumbs, and I have continued to follow them. I fully expect to get some answers based on the fact that she was certainly onto something and saw the need to leave notes about what she found. The only other thing of note I have to report is that I think there might be someone else here on the premises. I haven't seen anyone, but I have found evidence that someone else has been here during my time here at Valewood. I found a fast food receipt in one of the hallways that was dated 3 days ago. So unless ghosts have figured out a way to order takeout, I think I may have company. I'll keep you updated. Yours truly, Elijah Nicholas. Ghost Rid. Okay, well, this is a tried and true formula that works, which is we've got a cold case, and now we've got danger in the present. Is this the serial killer stalking? Now, remember, this back is last week. So I think what we've decided is, okay, so this back of these letters are sort of split in half. The first half is a reminder of last week and make sure you found everything you should find. And then the bottom is about this week, which we've decided is sort of important that you not read because it gives away hints that we would like to find on our own. So let's read last week's recap, but not read this week's hints. I think they should make that clearer, but okay. Thoughts and observations for last week's mailing. Okay, let's get something straight on the Ovulus readings. I have no idea who I was communicating with at that point. And at first, it seemed like the device was just spitting out garbage, but upon further reflection, I could find each location and trace them on the map to make an intelligent message. That indicates someone here is trying to help me. Was it Arlo, the female ghost I've previously spoken with? Someone else? All of that led me to that book, and that's significant. So I found a spell book, and we got directed to the ER, or the OR, the operating room, and that's where we are. Let's also talk about the Neuraquel synthesis, shall we? Why does this experimental Blackspire drug seem to be part of all this? What was Nancy really investigating? Obviously, you saw the same image I saw when I unlocked the computer. Did you notice the background on the screen? Yeah, me too. Seems to be like, despite his scientific leanings, that Franklin Betts, the chemist, was not only scared of the supernatural presences in Valewood, but had taken precautions to protect himself against them. He's talking about this symbol. The columns of letters that our codebreaker friend gave us made a lot more sense when you found his name on the Deadpool list and used only those columns to determine what he was trying to say. There's a lot to take in from the victim list and the suspect list that I compiled. I'm still working to get more information about the 8th victim. She's a bit of an enigma, actually. There isn't much about her in the records. Also, the time 317 seems significant. Okay, and then we're not going to read the part that we view as hints. All right, anything from the chat before we go into the other documents? Okay, this looks like maybe it's going to be, I suppose these documents, what they are and where they were found, might be explained at the bottom of this list, but we're just going to go into them cold. It's probably, okay, this is Nancy. Nancy has left a note that our Elijah has found. If you found this note, then my system for leaving messages is working. This note will be shorter than normal. A lot is happening. Our investigations have been fairly eventful and led to some additional information from patient 164. Let me just pause for a second. If you found this note, my system for leaving messages is working. Is it possible we're dealing with some sort of time traveling thing and like Nancy is sending us these messages from the past, like actively figuring out how to leave them, or has she just left them years ago and now we're finding them? Additional information in patient 164. Patient 164, to remind you, was the patient that was writing us and left a secret note in his cell about how they're drugging him to keep him quiet and they're causing him to lose his mind. He was the one who turned us on to the Neuraquel weirdness. So we think there's something important. He holds some important clues. One particular ghost who identified himself only as Judge told us to ask patient 164 if the number 1304 meant anything to him. The patient eyes lit up when he heard the number, and he told me that room 317 was important. He said that in another life, he was 1304, and that's where he would have looked. I don't really know what he meant. I want you also to notice how weird Nancy writes some letters descended and ascended, like that U, how low it is. She has a very distinctive way of doing that regularly, and we should keep our eye open for that. All the U's are low, and if we see some writing like that, it could be Nancy. Just keep that in mind. 317 turned out to be a room where a patient named Morris Cook is being kept on life support. We were told in the last letter that this killer is doing things for Morris Cook. And Morris Cook lived in 317, so this connection to the serial killer is huge. 317 turned out to be a room where a patient named Morris Cook is being kept on life support. I couldn't find out much more about the man or why he is being kept alive in a mental hospital. I also am not sure that all of the members of my group are here to simply investigate ghosts. Like me, they may have ulterior motives for being here. I caught Richard going through my stuff. He didn't even seem to care that I caught him going through my things. He just shrugged and looked right through me, as if his mind was in a completely different place. I don't trust him. My next note is in the kitchen. Look under the spice rack. Oh, and last, if I had to pick a word of the day, today's word would be books. And then she's giving us a little bit more of her cipher, which is this cool thing that we're building up over time, which is a clever little idea here. All right, so we know B turns to code M, and we know O goes to W, and we know K goes to G, and we know S goes to A. This is surely enough to decode any full message. We could guess the rest. We've got all the vowels, so we really don't need any more of Nancy's code to be able to read a message by Nancy in that code. But I guess she'll probably keep filling us in a little bit. Okay, the word of the day is books. Apparently, a whole series of books on the occult was found in the locker of victim 8, the nurse. It's unclear if she was a practitioner or was doing research of some sort. I wish I could get inside that locker and see if anything else was missed that might provide a clue. I wonder if we're going to be able to get into that locker. Now, what's this? Midnight finds a ghost pacing, abandoned corridors counting breaths it no longer takes. Once a witness, it remembers how the silence hid motives. Somewhere the killer stalked softly, smiling, and the ghost knew patience would speak. It revisits rooms, learning all secrets left behind, mapping routines of nurses, guards, wanderers. Each clue reveals threads of guilt, histories of mercy twisted. The detective listens, trusts, chills, follows, scratches. When dawn breaks, truth gathers names, frees victims, and the spirit exhales, finished as light seals doors and grief loosens. Outside, winter pauses briefly, acknowledging justice before time resumes its ordinary, fragile march. So this makes sense as an English poem of some sort, but it sounds awkward enough to feel like there's a hidden message here. It feels like you've sort of forced to write words with certain letters. If you had to guess, you'd guess first letter of words would be something that was forced, but I don't see it here. MFAGPAC. I don't see it. But what else? Could it go backwards? HEYSSEE? No. MF? I don't see anything, but it feels wrong. What about first word? Midnight, abandon it, remember, somewhere, smiling, with learning routines, no. Pacing breaths, it motives, no. But it sounds awkward. It sounds like there must be some meaning to it. I wonder if this would be a good thing to use the black light on. You see? Can you see? The killer knew all the victims. The killer knew all the victims. Okay. How's that for some deduction? All right, the killer knew all the victims. It would be good for us to make a note of that. All of my normal post-its are gone, are out of view, but that's all right. We'll just use a transparent, and we'll just say black light. The killer knew all victims. Okay, and then we'll make a little note to ourselves here for session 4, poetry backlight. Keeping good notes. The longer a game is, the more important it is to keep good notes, because you'll need to go back and remind yourself, where did we learn something? Do we trust it, etc.? Okay, so that's that. Now, what is this? We know that this has been used to decode messages, and we got a message. We got one message encrypted with this code in a previous letter, but it worked slightly differently. It was a numbered set. I wonder if we're going to need to get that out again. But what's going on here? With this help, I will see the Black Spire. Okay, Black Spire is the name of the pharmaceutical company. From the library of blank. And then we've got a message here. Let's just take a moment to appreciate how weird this is. From the library of blank. So is this separate from this, and this just telling us whose library, a person's name? Previously, the way we decoded this message is we had numbers at each of these triangles, and when we strung out the letters, we got a message. That seems like that's likely to be the case again, and that this is likely to be independent. Where did we get that numbered list? Does anyone remember what letter gave us the numbered? Here it is. Okay. So letter 2. I think maybe we'll keep this since it's clearly coming up again. We'll keep this out in our binder. Okay. So whose library is this? We've got J is our first letter. Our second letter is E. Our third letter is what? R. Fourth letter E. Fifth letter M. Sixth letter I. Seventh letter A. Eighth letter is going to be an H, surely. Jeremiah. Ninth letter is, what is that, a T? Might want to look at the Deadpool to see if we don't recognize this name. 14th letter, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is a T. 10th letter is an H. 11th letter is an E. 12th letter is E. 13Y. 14E. 14 is E, 13 is Y, 12 is an E again, and 11 is an E. That's a lot of E's. Is that really right? Jeremiah, the I. From the library of Jeremiah the I. Now, what's going on here? Let's not try to solve it. Let's try to appreciate it for a second. What do we notice? There's a number and a number. 774. Now, let's see. Is it possible that there are 67 words here? Almost looks like we have columns. Let's do a back of the envelope calculation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would make 80. That's not a terrible guess. You think that's a 1, huh? Okay, that would make even more likely that we've got 74 word fragments. So since it seems likely that they're all uniquely numbered, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, did I miscalculate? Or is something else gone wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 70, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I guess we've got 74 here. All right, so each word has a unique number from 1 to 74. And that is clearly significant. And now, by watching this, Melissa has figured out the piece that she was struggling with. All right, so don't tell us, obviously, Melissa. We're going to spend some time on it now ourselves. Now, let's take a look at this. What do we notice here? What jumps out from this? The first thing that maybe jumps out is how much it looks like English, in that the frequencies look reasonably like English frequencies. There's lots of E's, there's lots of I's. It's not all Z's and X's. There are some Z's and X's, though. But this isn't a pattern you would see if you just had an arbitrary Caesar cipher shift. So it doesn't feel like we're looking at a Caesar cipher type shift or an arbitrary shift. Now, we do have a way to get a letter out of each number from 1 to 14, but after that, we don't. And it's not limited to 26. I mean, we're going all the way up to 74. But it almost feels like we've got missing letters here, like M-U-N, like it almost feels like we've got an English that's been broken up or missing letters. With his help, I will see the black spire, and this is Jeremiah the I. Like, so let's think of some possibilities. One possibility is that there's some code that we're translating each letter to, and then we recover it. That doesn't seem quite right to me, just because the frequencies look like English. Another thing that's possible is that what we've got is a little bit of steganography here, where we've got a message in English hidden in junk. It is odd how these eyes sort of pop out at you. And this says Jeremiah the I. I wonder if that's a little hint about I. Like, could we... Is the I... Like, the I is so weird how they're putting this big circle, drawing attention to it. It almost feels like Jeremiah the I. It almost feels like it's telling us to look at the eyes. Like, if you just tried to get letters or words with eyes in them, what would that do for you? I-Y-T-H-I. Look at this. Here's another weird observation. Look at this H. Like, why is that H capitalized? That's odd, right? Is it the only capital in this entire message? Do you not find that odd? Or is this not a capital H? Is this a T-L-I? That would make a little more sense that that's a T, maybe even a T-T-I. That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that so many of these words are a little bit harder to read, but I'm almost tempted to write down all of the I-Y-T, T-L-I-I-E-D, I-E-K-D, L-W-I-D. I will see the black spire. Okay, so another possibility is you could even draw something with the eyes. What if you drew the eyes? I think what we'll do is well, there's yet another possibility that it's all nonsense text, but we're being drawn something. Another thing you could think about is what would the numbers be used for, and then why would you... Let's do all the eyes. I feel like there's something to this eye idea. But you'd want something that uses the numbers for something. If you figure it out, don't say the answer in the channel, but you can say I figured it out and make yourself available for hints if we need it. Another element to work out is what's the Jeremiah thing? I'm tempted to go look at the Deadpool list. and try to understand. All right, so obviously it's not some sort of, drawing. If we connect all the eyes, I don't think we get anything interesting. I can't read any words going this way. You might imagine I will see the black spire. With his help, I will see the black spire. Okay, you might ask, who is Jeremiah? Now, do we have a Jeremiah in our case? I'm trying to remember. Certainly not of our chief suspects, but is Jeremiah the owner of this place? What's the name of the owner? So there we have the first 7 victims. I believe we're told at some point who the owner of this place is. Does anyone remember if that's Jeremiah? Could we use the numbers from the spell book we found last week? What did we find last week? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know how to know what you're talking about there. I would like to find out if we've got information on Jeremiah. Where is our... So here we learned the name of the mortician, Angus Cartwright. I do feel like we learned at some point about the owner of this place. We should have written it down. In fact, I'm sure we did write it down. So instead of going through the documents, all right, Jesse. All right, that's a miracle. I didn't tear that into pieces. Cartwright is the mortician. Carter Ennis, Kevin Leclerc. Janet Watkins was our victim. Where did we write down the owner? I mean, this is what absolutely infuriates me. This is... Okay. All right. Just relax. Just relax. Why did we not write down the owner? I don't understand. I don't understand why we haven't written down the names of everyone. Okay, I have to stop looking at the channel because I'm just going to get angry. We were told the owner of the sanitarium. Now it's important that we find out that name, if only to write it down so we don't have to do this again. So everything is on hold until that gets done. fact, it is Jeremiah. And it's a little bit of indication. For the life of me, I do not understand why we did not write that down somewhere. That just boggles my mind, how this far on we are still not properly taking notes. That just boggles my mind. Jeremiah McClinton. In letter 2. The only reason Vailwood wasn't closed is because of the TikTok thing, is because Jeremiah McClinton, the owner of Vailwood, paid a lot of money to keep things under wraps. He knew there was a killer. It was more important to keep a lid on things. Sure, rumors trickled out, but he was a very intimidating figure. People were scared to cross him. Vailwood had a reputation. There were lots of people working that needed the money that Jeremiah McClinton paid every 2 weeks. It was easier in most cases just to keep their mouths shut and their wallets open. Jeremiah did the rest. All right, so clearly this note on this encrypted thing is referencing Jeremiah. From the library of Jeremiah, we decoded this to say, from the library of Jeremiah the Eye. Now, we do have a floor plan. Maybe there's a library in that floor plan that's of some use to us. I wonder. What do we have here? Patient rooms, living space. Screened-in porch, doctor's office. Don't really have a library on here. All right, so much for that theory. Let's go back. From the library of Jeremiah the Eye. All right, so nothing jumps out to me about this. I mean, I suppose it would be natural to write down the numbers of these eyes if this theory is right, that these eyes are important. Maybe something would jump out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74. Okay. How are those helpful to us? I don't know. Now, the chat has, or Melissa at least, who's been working on this letter from before, has figured something out. But we're not going to get hints yet because we don't even know if we're meant to solve this yet without looking at the other items in today's thing. So we're going to put this on hold. And we're going to go to the next document. Transcript of Mortician's Spirit Box session. Okay. I want to speak with the spirit of Agnes Cartwright. That's the Mortician. Are you there? Yes, but you shouldn't be. Do you know Tick-Tock's identity? Tick-Tock killed. I disposed. You cleaned up the killer's messes and helped him or her not to get caught. I played my part in the scheme. All bodies came to me. I could make them disappear when I needed to. And do you terrorize people who come to Valewood for answers now? When it suits me. What about the Deadpool? Explain it to me. What does it mean? Eliminate third column of names. Okay, then what? First column. Replace the following names with dots. Oliver Hawthorne, Amelia Brookstone, Calderwick, Henry Ashcombe, Violet, Edward, Penrose, Lucy, Henshaw, Arthur, Blackwell, Matilda, Frederick, Harriet, Everly, Lockton, William, George, Florence, Charles, Alderley, Frostwick, Nathaniel, Crawthorne, Eliza, Benjamin, Howick, Alfred, Northwick, Sebastian, Kingsley, Marlborough, Westlake, Miriam, Falloway, Peter, Agnes, Leonard, and Rosalind. Okay, now what? Second column, replace with dots. Ellsworth, Oliver, Amelia, Crosswick, Eleanor, Arlo, Arthur, Duncombe, Harriet, Loxley, Beatrice, William, Alice, Corbridge, Penfield, Benjamin, Hollister, Woodmears, Rupert, Thorncroft. Done. There's more. When you have it, all search where I say. When you have it all, search where I say. Yikes. A lot of work. Keep talking. First column, replace with a dash. Terry, Eleanor, Farley, Langford, Whitmore, and so on. Done. Second column, replace with a dash. Okay, it sounds like he's making Morse code out of this list. He says, disregard. What about the other names? Disregard. Only look at dots and dashes. And what am I supposed to do with all of that? Search where I've told you. Are you trying to be helpful? That doesn't seem to be in character for you. The Whisperer makes me do this. He delights in chaos. He wants the truth to come out. It will show his true purpose. So you aren't trying to be helpful. Someone is forcing you to give me this information. Yes. You called him the Whisperer. I dare not speak his other name. Did you kill anyone? No, just cleaned up. The brochure said you died here. Was killed. Murdered? The Whisperer needed me to do more. Made sure I died here so I would be bound to this place forever. So why continue to do his bidding? I cannot stop. And what else can you tell me? Are you still there? When I figure out where to go, I'll take a photo of what I find and upload it to the cloud. I'll label the tile as the same name as the location. Okay, that's as clear as mud, but it's clear what they want us to do. They want us to make a big, long Morse code cipher code that we then have to decode. I really do not like, one of the things I do not like about what they've chosen to do with this series of letters is how much work they are forcing you to do to decode. It's not the work to figure out the code I mind. It's the work that it's going to take us to turn this message into Morse code and then decrypt the Morse code. I find that really unpleasant. Like, I don't want to do this. And he's saying, once you do all this, then you will tell us. He's telling us a place. Search where I've told you. Okay, so once we turn this into Morse code, then we figure out the Morse code message, and then we go here and we say where to go. Whatever, we decrypt the Morse code, and then we are going to put that answer in here and get a picture, a photo of what I find. All right, so just to be clear about what we're supposed to do here, we're supposed to take this old Deadpool list, which is in one of our envelopes, that we now have to find. Or did I put it? All right, so here's the Deadpool list. We could put it in a transparency, but maybe the easier thing is to make a scan and copy of this, and then we're going to turn some of these into dots and dashes and then read a Morse code message. Okay, let's save that for a bit. Let's take a look at what else we have here. Here's the mortician. Garrett Arndon. Oh no, not the mortician. This is the operating room surgeon. Garrett Arndt, chief of surgery, 39 years old, 6'0", 185 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. So we've got another suspect. There's someone behind him and someone here. Otherwise, not much to worry about. Any chance of any blacklight writing here? No. Okay, so another suspect, we'll worry about that later. What is this? A painting with arrows. Boy, that's weird. I mean, it kind of looks like we shouldn't, that this will be useful in a future thing. It doesn't really feel like this is enough on its own to do anything with. I don't get what's happening here. But maybe if I had to guess, I would guess that this is going to be assembled into a larger montage rather than be useful for us currently. So it seems like the next thing to do is this, which will get us access to the QR code, and maybe that will give us more information. And then we're going to have to come back to this, assuming that it doesn't tie in to this message. All right, why don't we do this? We'll take a break. I'll make a copy of this thing to write in. We'll make sure we can decode the, make sure it really is Morse code. And then if Melissa, who's already worked on this, wants to give us the full Morse code, assuming we're right about that, I'd welcome not having to bring up a website and spend a half hour typing in the Morse code. But let's take a break. I'll see you in 8 minutes. All right, we're back down to 15 viewers. We are going to, I've made some scans and printouts that should make life a little bit easier for us. We are going to verify that we're on the right track here, and then if we can, we're going to offload the brunt brute force work to Melissa, who's already done it, if we're right. So the instructions from this ghost are to, in the first, it says get rid of the third column of names, so we don't need these. In the first column, Oliver gets a dot, Hawthorne gets a dot, Amelia gets a dot, Brookstone gets a dot, Calderwick, Henry, Ashcombe, Violet, Edward, Penrose, and so on. Second column goes dot, Ellsworth. Suppose you want to see this a little better. Ellsworth, Oliver. All the way down here. Amelia, Crosswick, Eleanor, Arlo, Arthur, all the way down to Arthur, huh? That's a little bit concerning. Duncombe, Harriet. Okay, so I stopped there, and then first column becomes dashes. Terry, Eleanor, Fairway, Langford, Whitmore, Charlotte. I'll stop there. In the second column, Tobias, Penelope, Arkwright, Nicholas, Margaret, Daniel, Violet, all the way down here, Caraway, Edward, Frederick. Kind of weird that we have so much of a gap. Well, probably the blanks are word breaks. Like it's probably dot, dot, and then dot, dot, dash, dot, dash, dot, dash, 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 dot, dot, dash, word break, dot, dash, dash, dot, dash, dash, dot. I'm not sure why there'd be two breaks here, though. I'm not sure what's going on here. But, and then of course, I'm not sure we read this way or if we read this way. I suppose the only thing is to do it. Although, Melissa, if we're basically right, you could just tell us rather than have to go and do all this brute force experimenting. Okay, a comment I completely don't understand. Why is this? Dot, dot, space. We don't even have dashes here because we don't have a keyboard. Okay. dot dot dash dot dot dot. This is just so painful. It's like, okay, so I'm going from left to right. Going from left to right, the first two letters are I, and then this is an F. And then if we look in the chat, Melissa says the message is, if you want Sherry, Kate, Richard, look in chapel. So it seems like we got the exact right idea that this is Morse code. We've decoded a couple of letters, and Melissa is now confirming to us that without saying so, which would have been even better, she's saying, yes, you decoded it correctly. So the Morse code from Ghost Rid session 4 says, if you want Sherry, Kate, comma, Kate, Richard, look in chapel. Okay, I don't really understand that message or the punctuation. I'm assuming that Melissa is telling us this punctuation is in the message. If you want Sherry, comma, Kate, comma, Richard, look in chapel. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't even understand how you got commas. Sherry, Kate, and Richard were people with Nancy. So if you want Sherry, Kate, and Richard, look in chapel. Okay, so there are going to be perhaps the dead, killed bodies of these three people. That makes a little more sense. Are these commas in the Morse code, or are these inferred by you? All right, and then the chapel is where we're going to answer to this question. And then we've got the ad playing on the tablet that we can now kill. Because why is life like this? That force ads down our throat at every possible spare moment. It's like our whole lives now are paid for by ads. What is the location? Okay. So we've decoded. Thank God Melissa has saved us from having to decode that entire message. And here we are going to get the dead bodies. There was no obvious place to search in the chapel, so I used my EMF meter, scanned the room until I found a huge spike in electromagnetism along one wall. Since you're planning to bulldoze this place to the ground anyway, I didn't see any harm in busting out the sheetrock. I found the remains of Sherry, Kate, and Richard. I don't know how they were killed, but it's safe to assume they were murdered and their bodies were hidden inside the chapel wall. I know that's a bad sign, but don't panic yet. We still don't know what happened to Nancy. I'll keep looking, my friend. We will get answers, I promise you that. One of my next steps will be to see if I can communicate with the spirits of these three. Maybe they can tell me what happened to them. I'll keep you posted. All right, so a bunch of Nancy's friends were killed, murdered, and buried in the wall. Sherry, Kate, and Richard were murdered. That's in letter 4. All right, now that does not help us solve this problem. Let's take a look at this again. From the library of Jeremiah the I. With his help, I will see the black spire. So you might guess that unless you're talking about a physical black spire, you might guess that it's telling us what some plain text we might recover. I still think it's the eyes that jump out, so I'm going to just mark this over on my printed copy, and we'll spend a little bit more time thinking through this. Don't tell us the answer. I'll eventually ask for opinions in the chat, but let's spend a little bit more time on it first. So I've just scanned and printed it out, so it's a little bit easier for us to work with this. And then let me just carry over the numbers. What did we say? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we've got 12, 15, 18, 33, 35, 40, 44, 45, 50, 52, 71, and 73. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So here is what we're working with here. 12 groupings with eyes. We don't know that these are the keys, the important word fragments, but might be. And we also don't know what we're looking at here. I guess it's probably not an uppercase H. It's probably TL. IYTTLIIED. IEKDLWID. Might make sense just to write this out. This is just a hunch that these I words are the keywords. I wouldn't know. I still don't know how we would use the numbers, though. And then, why does it say Jeremiah the I? With his help, I will see the black spire. From the library of Jeremiah. So should we be figuring out a way to use Jeremiah or McClinton? So black spire, I mean, I see enough letters to make spire. Is there a B in our list somewhere? No. Doesn't look like it. So we're not going to be able to create the word black spire, which I would have thought we might be able to, if that's what it was hinting at. I really dislike that some of these letters are so hard to read what they are supposed to be. That's just an added complication I don't need. Why would we need numbers? Why would we need numbers? What possible decoding method would require us to need numbers? So Jeremiah the I, from the library of Jeremiah, with his help I will see the black spire. So you might think that you've got something with the word Jeremiah. There's the I in Jeremiah. Well, what would we do with that? And how would we use these numbers? I mean, clearly the numbers are key to this. And it was Jeremiah the I, but I was thinking that EYE is a little hint that we're looking at the little eyes. Why would the numbers of these words be important? Why would the numbers of these blocks going from 1 to 74? It's really weird. I mean, it's shocking how much we see real words here, like by, I, paw. This looks like part of hello, was, and some look like they're words missing letters. Like, why do these look so much like English words? Small, anchor. It's almost like we could figure out what letter is missing from each of these. But is that true? Like, this could go where or were. This could go rest. Pale would be an L. Like, that would be an E. But OWK, what word do you get? Almost feels like we could add letters to make these words, but not here. Like, you can't add a letter to make this a word, so that can't be right. And in our eyes, we have sometimes 3 letters, sometimes 4 letters. Always double digits, but sometimes 0 digits. It is tempting to make like a grid, but we don't have enough to make a fully grid. In other words, if we made like a 7 by 7 grid, we could put each of these in 1 by 2, 1 by 5, 1 by 8. It just doesn't seem right. We just wouldn't have enough to make a good grid. fun idea, though. Like you could imagine putting this in cell 1, 2, and this in cell 1, 5, and this in cell 3, 3. But then we have a 5, 0. What? So surely we're not putting in a 0 indexed grid. Can imagine other crazy things like lining up the I with the I, and then taking the words, the letters to previous, like taking the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters to the left of the I. That doesn't seem right, though. Let's look at the clues again. From the library, no other information, huh? From the library, with his help, the help of Jeremiah McClinton, with his help, I will see the Black Spire. With the help of Jeremiah McClinton, I will see the Black Spire. I'm going to read the part about this week's letter to see if it's giving us any information. The Polaroid is Garrett Arndt, chief of surgery. It's interesting Nancy considered him to be a possible suspect for TikTok killings. Why? That's this guy. Nancy note 4. The trail hasn't gone cold here yet. Whatever Nancy stumbled on 2 years ago, I'm walking the same path that she walked. Let's hope it leads to finding her. This should shine a light on things. Okay, that is a hint that we did the black light on this. Page from the spell book. Okay, that's what this is. Here we go. Okay, the symbol is familiar, obviously. I know how to get the name from this. I may need to look back through my notes. But what about the rest of that? I don't want to read any of that aloud in case it's a spell of some sort. And then a word that is inexplicably hard to read. That does something very bad. It is written in a spell book after all, and maybe those numbers I found with the book last week would be helpful. Spirit box session. The info the mortician provided turns the Deadpool into a sort of code. Tap code? No, this has dots and dashes. Maybe Morse. Seems familiar. Maybe I can find a chart online to make it into something that is coherent. Okay, why should it be so hard to read a spell of some sort? Okay, but it says maybe the numbers I found with the book last week would be useful. Okay, so we have forgotten that last week we got numbers that might be useful. So let us see what numbers we got last week that it's talking about. Okay, it's wonderful that we have no numbers here from last week. Have we mixed it up somewhere? Is there a way for us to find out what was in envelope 3? Well, I can feel I'm getting a little bit on tilt here. I can feel it. So there's a reference here to the numbers from last week. All right. Here is last week. There's no obvious numbers to know what he's talking about. Is that because I don't know what number he's talking about? Or is it because we have moved that number sheet somewhere on the table or in our binder? Is it talking about the ages? I mean, this was from last week. 58, 42, 34, 46, 29, 67. I mean, if those were the important ones rather than the ones with the eyes, there's too many permutations of possibilities here. But if we looked at what number was 58, 53, 50, let's use a different sheet. I mean, is this ridiculous? 67, 58. This what it's talking about when it's trying to give us a hint about numbers? 44, 43, 42. Then there was 34. I mean, 46. 61. Numbers. Really, guys? And 67. This seems stupid. And then I guess the idea would be we would read these off on the order here, which doesn't make any sense. Let's read this again. This meta clue. I don't want to read it out loud. So that made me think it was one of these things where you read it. Plead. And then you sound something out, but then he says, I don't want to read any of that out loud in case it's a spell of some sort. Then he says, that does something bad. It is written in a spell book after all. Maybe those numbers I found with the book last week would be helpful. What the fuck numbers are you talking about, as if we know what you're talking about? That I find really upsetting. Like, if you're trying to tell us something, tell us what you're talking about. Why is our guy just talking about random numbers? I mean, if he's trying to be our friend and helpful to us, then why isn't it more clear about what numbers you're talking about? And of course, at this point, it's all a fucking mess. What document goes in what envelope? Impossible to know. Impossible to reconstruct. It was an online thing with the spell book. An online thing we're supposed to now go get and remember? No, that would be totally ridiculous. That would be a terrible design for a game if we now have to have downloaded a copy of something with numbers. That would be ridiculous. We did happen to download it, but that is absolutely offensive if this game wants us to luckily have downloaded this screenshot, or else go back and re-answer the QR code puzzles in hopes that we would find this. I find that very offensive as a terrible, terrible game design. I really think that this is a terrible idea, that we need to reference. Okay, well, I don't need to keep talking about it. Here it is. So what? It's just this sequence of numbers now? And nothing to do with the eyes, and nothing to do with any of that. And now it's going to make me reconstruct this whole thing? Okay. All right, let's do it, and then we'll complain about it later. So what? It's saying 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, A and D, the W-E, or O, W-O-R-S-T, the worst. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The worst were cast out. I guess this is going to be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 33, 1, 32, 34, 36, 37, just goes on and on forever. 38, 39, 40, 41, 43, 45. If I do one, if I'm off by one, the whole message gets messed up and we have to do it again. What number are we up to? 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 11, 13, 15, 19, 21, 24, 26, 27, 32, 34, 36, 37, 41, 43, 45, 48, 950, 52, 55, 58, 62, 64, 68, and then 72. Okay, let's just do it and I'll complain about it afterwards. And the worst were cast out like stars. They fell on. They fell. One has been here for eons. He is the whisperer in Ward Calso. No, he is the whisperer in war. WARD. Okay, and known as Malachar. He is the whisperer in Ward Calso. Ward. He is the whisperer in Ward DC, also known as Malachar. Ward DC. He is the whisperer in Ward C. Okay, the whisperer in Ward C, also known as Malachar. And it seems to be saying he's like some angel or something. And the worst were cast out like stars. They fell on, they fell, one, they fell. One has been here for eons. So cast out one here for eons. So some spirit who's been here for eons, the Whisperer in Ward C, also known as Malachar. Sounds like some biblical demon thing. All right. So I guess we've done everything there is to do with this letter, number 4. Let's talk about it a little bit. It does seem like you're talking about fallen angels or demons or devils and something about a spirit that's been here for a long time. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about, since Deadbolt Mystery Society is clearly feeling their way in this kind of game, this is sort of new for them, I want to give some feedback. One of the ways that this feels very different than the normal Deadbolt Society game is they seem to have gotten some hunt-a-killer people on board who are much more willing to create these lengthy, code-heavy stuff. It's very rare to find this in a normal Deadbolt puzzle. But it's much more prominent here that we have a lot of busy work deciphering. Like the Morse code is the exact example of what I always advise does not get done in a puzzle. There's a game where it's easy to figure out what the code is and takes you a half hour to actually go through the process of decoding it using some online decipher tool that just relies on you typing the Morse code in properly, and if you mess up one little dot or dash, everything goes to hell. There is no enjoyment in that. So that was the Morse code thing, and then this whole thing, this puzzle is pretty bizarre to me. Let me point out the ways in which this seems to me like a terrible puzzle. First of all, this suggestion that with his help I will see the Black Spire and the Jeremiah, the Eye, all of these hints pointing in one direction. And the key was actually that this is a much more straightforward code. It's just you have to have saved a screenshot of the page you got shown when you entered a QR code and answered a previous letters puzzle. To me, that's a terrible design. This feels like the editor should have said, hey, if you want this puzzle to need a sequence of numbers from a previous letter, that's fine. But of course, that would be one of the printed documents. There is no way that you should require to solve one puzzle the encrypted, password encrypted, ephemeral website that the person gets when they put in a QR code from a previous week, especially given that it could be weeks between letters. That's just terrible. And the fact that the hint of that was in the sort of hint section. I don't understand the design philosophy that would do that. Now, I guess you could say, if you wanted to defend it, that when we got this a week ago or however long ago people read it, that obviously you should look at those and say those are going to come in handy at some point. I think that's fair. And then it did give us a hint about the numbers. I really wish that reference wasn't to just generic numbers from last week, because it didn't even occur to me to remember that something we got in a one-off QR code online would come back up. But I suppose, I mean, if we were playing this all in one session, we would remember this. But if you're spending weeks between playing, that is an unreasonable thing to expect people to remember. I guess, like I said, the only thing I can defend on them is that this is pretty glaringly should be, you should see this and say, okay, this is going to come up somewhere at some point. And shame on us for not printing out this page, but it's a terrible decision to require something online to be used. Yeah, and you can see, like, you can see why also this is part and parcel, not as bad as the Morse code, but similar. Here's a thing where what looks like an interesting, clever puzzle is really just a puzzle testing, do you remember that you wrote down this big sequence of numbers? And if you do, then you just read it off. And if you don't remember that you've written down this big sequence of numbers, then you spend an hour in frustration. So far, there's been a lot more of that kind of thing in these deadbolt letters than I want to see, and I'm getting a little bit frustrated by it. Maybe the chat thinks I'm being unreasonable here. Time separation is a problem. This is the kind of thing why I don't like online components. Shouldn't have to screen cap or print out things to use later. I did get a headache doing the Morse code. Honestly, when I figured out the triangle puzzle was different from the word puzzle, that's when I figured it out. Kate asked about the numbers in the spell book early on when we were first looking at it. I was trying to match the letters in the message to those on the triangles and was getting nowhere. Last week, the sentence of the image made you comment, we'll need this more next week. They could have saved themselves all of my complaining if this picture was in the documents, in the printed documents, the physical documents. There is no reason why an online page should be essential to solving a future week puzzle. Are we to think now that every QR page we get and look at, we should screenshot and print because God forbid it could be used at some other future time? It's not so easy to go back at these too. It's not like there's a website where you could say, show me the screens from letter 2, letter 3, letter 4. No, the only way to get this back, on the screen, if I hadn't screenshotted it, would be to go open letter 3, find the QR codes, scan them, and then when it asks us, like, what was the magical answer to this QR code, remember how we answered it, put it back in to get this back up. That's ridiculous. Not really happy about this, actually. Now we'll be off next week. Was there any page that we got this week that I have to worry about coming up again in a future week? I mean, it's gone now. Those pages are gone. Oh, here it was. Here was the page that we read. I'm assuming this is not going to come up again, but what if the thing is like, oh, hey, I bet the structure of those bones in the wall might be important. It's just a bad design. I guess they are feeling their way through this structure of this game, but and then Annika says something I'm thinking too, like, hey, it'd be nice to have one puzzle that's not a cipher. Yeah, I mean, we did get an occasional one, but it was pretty thin. All right, well, the story is still compelling. I'm sure by the next letter I will have forgotten all this badness, but I'm not thrilled with this so far. I like the story. I like the setting. I like the storytelling mechanics, but I am not really happy with all of the codes and ciphers and some of the way they're structuring some of these solutions. All right, thank you for joining me. I'll see some of you during the week, but then we will not meet this coming weekend on March 1st, but we will meet the week after. Thank you for joining me for these 2 hours. I'm sorry for the frustration. I'm sorry if I took it out on anyone in the chat. I do appreciate Melissa's help with the Morse code and the teamwork in remembering to look at the numbers from last week. I'll see you all next time.